Hello friends, today we're going to work with the Light and Wonder set, and it comes with dies, and they make such cute little mountain scenes with the different types of dies. So we're going to work with a couple of those today too. We're also going to be working with the lights of Aurora DSP. I thought I would show you this because I really think this is pretty paper. So you get, they're 6 by 6, and you get a good bit of each color. So you have this one, and then you have a solid color on the back. And then you have this one with a solid color. And then there's this one, and then it's got a solid color. And we've got this one, and with the purple. And then we have this one with the blue and this one with the black. So that is the cardstock. I just think it's really pretty. So we're going to work with those today. So our first card we're going to do is this one right here. Okay. So I will have all the dimensions in the description once I'm done posting the video. So this one we used embossing powder and the Versamark with the heat gun. So I actually did that because it's kind of loud and I didn't want to do a loud video. So I did do that. We did take a piece of black cardstock, and I already die cutted it out for you. So we're just going to pull this part off carefully so we don't lose our trees. And then there might be a few little pieces here that you can pick out with your fingernail usually. Okay. So there's that. And then we have our white base. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our card base. Okay. And then we have Balmy blue, and then we have this designer series paper. So we are going to attach this to the Balmy blue. Just like that. I only gave it a 1/8 border around it. So for the Embrace the Wonder, we are going to have to trim it down. I actually made it bigger so that there was enough room to do your sentiment. But we're just going to trim it down to about right at the bottom of the W. So it's going to look like that. And we're going to throw this or use it for something else. Put it off to the side. Okay. And then we're just going to glue that down. Now for up around the trees, I didn't want it to stick out too much. So I'm going to just use a little bit of glue just to help it stick to the paper. So then we're going to line it up at the bottom of the page. You don't want to see any border of the designer paper. And then we're going to press that down. And there you have it. And then we're going to glue that to our card base. One good thing about this paper is you don't have to do much with it. It speaks for itself. So we don't have to really do a whole lot. It's very pretty. And guess what I just did? I put my paper on upside down. It's supposed to look like this, but it's okay. It still looks pretty. Oh my. That's hilarious. So then we have the frosted iridescent dots that came with this suite. So we are going to put a couple of the iridescent dots on. So, learning tip, make sure your paper is on right side up. It's still going to look pretty. It's just going to look like the light beams are going up instead of down. Oh my. Okay. Our next picture, or our next card we're going to do is this one. Let's move these out of the way. And we'll get all of our paperwork out. So this one is kind of a fun fold, so it just opens like that. You can write your sentiment in here, okay? And then to make the label, I'm using the traditional labels set that comes, and I'm using this die here. So there's some really cute different label dies you can get with that set. So I already cut that out. We have Blackberry Bliss. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold it and crease it in half. And then this, for the next fold, we just fold it in half this way and crease it. If I can get it to fold. There we go. So that makes your fun fold. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we're using Bubble Bath. So that's going to be our next layer for the inside. So we're going to put some tape here. And we are going to put it down. Once again, I only made a 1/8 of an inch border. And then we're going to take this paper and we are going to layer it down on top. So it's going to go just like this. Okay. And then we have our basic white layer, and it's going to go on the next panel. So it's going to go right here like this. And I did cut this out to kind of match, even though when it goes across it's not going to match, but that's the way I did it. So we're going to put this onto our cardstock. And then we are going to layer it down. Okay. Now let's do our stamp. I do find, we're going to use Blackberry Bliss. I do find that it might be easier to do the bottom word first. So we're going to use light is what we're going to use for this one. And I got too much stuff here. There we go. So we're going to put that down here at the bottom, as close to the bottom as you can. There we go. And then we have the May Your Day Be Filled With. And we're going to just kind of center that at the top. Just like that. So there you go. Okay. So let's get our chamois in here and we'll clean our, whoops, sorry about that. Clean our blocks off. Now we're going to use some of this Balmy Blue, what's it called? Sheer ribbon. I think this came with the suite too. So we're just going to kind of, I don't know, cut a long piece off. And then what we're going to do is we only want this half. So I kind of hold my fingers here and we're going to put a little bit of tape across here just on that half. We're going to take our ribbon and we're going to kind of lay it like this. So, oops, I'm sorry. I guess I should show you. And the glue that we put down is going to help hold it. And then we're going to end up with it over on this end. And then you can trim it down. And then what we're going to do with our dimensionals is we are going to only put dimensionals where I put the glue, but it's going to help hold the ribbon down. So we'll put a couple pieces here. So it might look like I'm putting a lot more on, but it is kind of helping to keep the ribbon down on the label. Okay, that should be good. So then we'll peel those off. And then we're going to put this right about here. Good, nothing's sticking out. And then we're going to embellish again with our gems. So I think I used a large gem down here. And we're going to use a couple of different colors because it's a pretty colorful card. And then we'll do a couple of gems up in here. There we go. And there's our second card. Okay, our next card. So this is what our next card's gonna look like. We have our basic white card base. So we're gonna fold that in half. Let's clean up a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. This is Lost Lagoon. You can use whatever embossing folder you want. I know this one's a retired one, but you can use anything to give it like a texture. So that's what I did with this. And then you have a basic white layer, and then we cut down our designer paper layer. And then we also use some basic black, and we use, I'll show you which die we used. We used this die here. I laid it across like this. Yeah, like this. No, I did not. It's this side. There we go. I laid it across like that, die cut it out. Always leave a little bit of extra room down here just because you don't know how far on the card you want. You can always trim it down. I actually am going to trim this one down because I can see that from my sample that I did. So we'll bring our paper trimmer up again. And I'm just going to leave a tiny little bit of space right there. And we're going to hold that down tight. And we're going to trim that off. Just like that. Okay. Get them little pieces off there. Okay. All right, so let's glue let's do our stamping first. And we used our Memento Black. We got Your Strength Inspires Me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on at one end. There we go. And then you can just trim. I just took a long strip that I actually had that was left over. And then we'll take our trimmers and we'll just cut it down a little bit like that. There we go. All right, let's assemble. So first we'll put our layer down. Okay, and then we're going to glue our designer paper down to our white paper. And then we're going to glue this piece down. I'm actually just going to use glue. So we get little dots all up in here. And then we'll just glue it right to the bottom. You don't want to see any of the designer paper at the bottom. And we'll just glue that down. Okay. There we go. And then we'll just tape this to the I actually am doing 4 cards today because these are so easy that I thought, well, we don't want a short video. We'd like to make it a little bit longer. So we're going to dimension this up. So I actually have one more card to show you yet. And then we're going to put that right there. And then we're going to bring these down. We'll put one up here. And we'll put a blue one here. And we'll do a pink one here. There we go. So there's that card. Okay. We got one more. Okay, this one is this one here. So we're using a Balmy blue card base. So let's go ahead and fold that in half with our bone folder. All right, and then we cut our designer paper. So we're not going to put that down just yet. This is another piece of designer paper. I used the one with the blue background. We're going to stamp on this. So we're going to use Azure Afternoon. And I'm going to stamp the word love down here in the corner. There we go. And then we're going to use the Blackberry Bliss. And we're going to stamp May Your Day Be Filled. Right here. Okay. And we're going to kind of put that off to the side, right like that. Whoops. Okay. That's all the stamping we have to do. All right, so I went ahead and I die cut. Once again, I die cutted with this die here. I die cut this. I didn't want a whole lot of this showing. Then for the Blackberry Bliss piece, I used this one, and we wanted to get some of the mountains more than just these valleys, so I did it off to the side here like that to get that effect. And then to make our mountain scene, I used this piece here, and I wanted this to kind of be right in the center, so we did it like that. There we go. So there's that. This is for your inside, so we'll lay that off to the side for now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to put this piece on first. And once again, go all the way to the bottom so that you don't see any of your designer paper. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our snow-covered mountains up next. And then we're going to be trimming some of this off, so don't worry about that. Then we're going to do our purple mountains, or Blackberry Bliss mountains. All right, come on. Okay, and we're going to line that up right over top of the white. Oops. Just like that. Now I'm going to glue these because it's such a small piece. So we're going to go over here and we're going to dab our little glue. Okay, so then we're going to center this, but we want this one to be down over the blue a little bit, because that way it kind of looks like some water. And then we're going to glue that down. Okay. All right, once we get that glued down, then you can just take your paper snips and we can just trim off the edge. Okay. Now, before we adhere this to the card base, we're going to get out our sheer ribbon again. We'll mark off a little bit. And then we're just going to tuck it behind so we don't waste any of that nice ribbon. We're going to tuck that behind. And then we're going to adhere this to our card base. And then we're going to take another piece of ribbon and we're going to make what we call a faux bow, which is just a knot. It helps it lay a little bit thinner so that it can go in the mail without it being too bulky. And then we don't cover up our water. So we'll trim the ends a little bit. Push that down a little bit. And now we need some gems. I believe we used the grape on this one. So we're going to gem, and put a gem. Oops, put a gem right there. And there you have it, friends. There's our cards for the day. So let's bring them all out so you can see them. So we did 1, 2. We did this one. And we did this one. So I hope you like those. Here, let's try it this way, maybe. There we go. Can you see them all? Hope you like those. And I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time.